Hi, this is Jason Major from Sweaty Hero Comic Bargains, and I'm here to talk to you about Convergence, DC's Convergence. This was a storyline that happened after the New 52 era, which was after Flashpoint, and bridged the time period between New 52 and DC Rebirth. So, and these were a lot of these stories, because they were just two-issue miniseries. I think that what happened is a lot of retailers maybe over-ordered or didn't, comic buyers just sort of went and bought the ones they were interested in. And so a lot of these have been found in dollar bins and bargain bins, and in this case, quarter bins. But there's some great stories to be told there, and some also important stories as well. But this leads into the DC Rebirth stuff, including the most important one, I would say, is this one. Now, this issue 1 is by Dan Jurgens, Lee Weeks. Dan Jurgens had done a definite return of Superman, and this brings back married Superman and Lois Lane, and from the post-crisis on Infinity Earths era, which was all, and that continuity that kind of went all the way up to like the Infinite Crisis and stuff like that. And in this one, Lois Lane is pregnant, and so this storyline introduces the pregnant Lois Lane, and the next issue she has a baby. This becomes important when they go to Rebirth, in which you have a Superman and Lois who are basically in that storyline. But you have that Superman, the this is, I'm not trying to confuse you. The Superman who is married, and Lois Lane, they have a kid who they call Jonathan Kent, who is 10 years old. And so there's a great storyline with that, which you can read about. And so, they're from basically the universe that happened before, come to our world. And then eventually the Superman, DC Rebirth Superman, and the Superman that has a kid, they're merged into one timeline, and the timeline is fixed. I think the opposite of Spider-Man One More Day, where the marriage was dissolved. When DC Rebirth came, they basically eventually renewed the marriage, but they had a 10-year kid, and obviously we never saw the adventures of like Superman with and Lois having a baby. That's the most important one. So issue number 2 sometimes is considered the first appearance of John Kent. I would make a distinction between the John Kent that becomes Superboy and becomes a 10-year-old Superboy, and John Kent, the one who's now a teenager and has his own book called John Kent. That to me is a different John Kent, because it was like a John Kent that for some reason they aged him up from 10 years old to all the way to 18 years old really quickly. Anyways, so I digress. So Convergence, basically, the storyline was that Brainiac had taken bottled cities from different timelines that were before the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and there's this other character named Telos. They made heroes fight each other. So you had some cool stories where heroes are fighting different heroes from different timelines. But it's a celebration of all the timelines that have it. So you have a Justice League here. You have this is Barry Allen Flash. Speed Force is the the Wally West Flash that happened before the Flashpoint event. Action Comics is the original Earth 2 Superman, so that'd be the Superman that comes from Action Comics number 1, and the Power Girl, the original Power Girl, who basically is Kara Zor-El, which we know as Supergirl. Batman Shadow of the Bat is from the Nightfall timeline, from basically the 90s, and Batman and Robin is when you have Damian Wayne and Bruce Wayne and Batman. It's from that kind of timeline. So there's a lot of fun, good stories that can be found in these comic books. I enjoyed these, and I would say like any of them you can find for a quarter or $1 are worth picking up. And let's go quickly through some other DC comics just to make it a little quick video here. This is another example of something that really surprised me, Batman Offworld. I was really expecting, when I was like looking at this pile going, do I really want to read this? This was cool. And the premise is basically Batman at one point during his early career said, wait a minute, yeah, I'm fighting crime and I'm fighting Gotham and I want to save the city, but then he fights an alien and then he says, how small-minded I become. So he's basically now it's Batman meets Guardians of the Galaxy. If you posted Batman in the Guardians of the Galaxy, I know that's a DC, that's a Marvel thing, but well, for DC, I guess New Gods or Green Lantern Corps or something like that. But it's Batman in space fighting aliens, learning to train how to fight aliens, and this was a lot cooler than what I thought it would be. I thought it would be like, I want to throw away this comic. I don't want to read it. It's a C-. I give it like a B+ because it was just so cool of an original idea. That makes sense that Batman would eventually have to get to this point where he would learn how to fight aliens, and it kind of helps establish why this Batman in the DC Universe makes sense with the Justice League. Then you have Batman Incorporated, which is international, a team of different Batman characters. And this is one of the newer runs, not the Grant Morrison run. You got a Mike Grail Green Arrow here, so kind of like a look back. Marv Wolfman, Deathstroke the Terminator. A cardstock cover Detective Comics that's more recent, so that's kind of cool. It's like it's literally a $5.99 U.S. cover price book found in a quarter bin. This is from the Flashpoint event that I was talking about. So this is a copyright 2011. Yeah, and then you got an issue of Superman Batman, an issue from the New 52 era of the Flash. This was an event where it was basically Villains Month, and then this was free, but we're gonna put it in the dollar bin. An issue of Batman Night Watch, which was more like a kid-friendly series, it looks like. And then this is a reprint of the DC Rebirth Batman #1. DC Rebirth being another era, like I said, after Convergence would relaunch the titles with good continuity. And those DC Rebirth Batman titles, as well as Superman, are really excellent. And then there's a lot of other DC Rebirth titles that I didn't get a chance to read, but I would love to read. It's a great era that is only a few years old, but you'll find them in the dollar bins and quarter bins. So that's sort of the rebirth of Convergence of DC bargains for you today. Thank you very much. Stay sweaty.